Power, influence, supremacy, Genghis Khan had it all. He became the conqueror of the largest contiguous empire in history, annihilated virtually every army he set his sights on. With a simple word or just the impression of his seal, he could bring empires to their knees. Hated by some, admired by others, there was never born a man in history quite like Genghis Khan. This is his story, the story of a young boy who cried easily and feared dogs, yet whose personal ambitions, fears, and principles would one day engulf the world. Hello everyone, my name is Ritu Chaudhary, and today we are going to talk about the life of Genghis Khan in brief. Many wars ago, he was born near the Onan River in present-day Khenti province in Mongolia around 1162 into one of the Mongolian tribal groups. These tribes often fought amongst each other over the scarce resources of the steppe, grazing land, water, herds, all essential for survival. Murders, kidnappings, enslavement were common phenomena. Unlike any other conqueror in history, Genghis Khan never allowed anyone to paint his portrait, sculpt his image, or engrave his name or likeness on a coin. Without much of disclosed Mongol records, the world was left to imagine him as it wished. Over the centuries, scholars weighed the atrocities committed by men such as Alexander, Caesar, or Napoleon against their historical missions or accomplishments. For Genghis Khan and the Mongols, however, their achievements were often forgotten, and their alleged crimes and brutalities were magnified. This created the stereotype of the barbarian, the ruthless, bloodthirsty conqueror who enjoyed destruction for its own sake. However, scholars over the centuries occasionally reported encounters with a Mongol text on the life of Genghis Khan, written anonymously by someone within his inner circle or the royal family. Finally, in the 19th century, a copy of this document, written in Chinese characters, was found in Beijing. Due to the history surrounding this text, scholars refer to it as the secret history of the Mongols, the name by which it has continued to be known. In just 25 years, Genghis Khan's army subjugated more lands and people than the Romans did in 400 years. He never received any formal education, yet displayed unprecedented competence as a statesman. At the time of his birth in 1162, the world consisted of local civilizations, most of which knew little about the others beyond their closest neighbors. Places like China and Europe were virtually disconnected. By the time of his death in 1227, he had forged commercial and diplomatic links between them, connections that reshaped history and endure to this day. As he smashed the feudal system of aristocratic privileges, he built a new and unique system based on individual merit, loyalty, and achievement. He took the disjointed trading towns along the Silk Route and organized them into history's largest free trade zone. He lowered taxes for everyone and abolished them altogether for doctors, priests, teachers, and educational institutions. He established a regular census and created the world's first international postal system. His was not an empire that hoarded wealth and treasure. Instead, he widely distributed the goods acquired in combat so that they could make their way back into commercial circulation. In American terms, the accomplishments of Genghis Khan might be understood if the United States, instead of being created by a group of educated merchants or wealthy planters, had been founded by one of its illiterate slaves who liberated America from foreign rule, united the people, created an alphabet, wrote the Constitution, established universal religious freedoms, invented a new system of warfare, marched an army from Canada to Brazil, and opened roads of commerce in a free trade zone that stretched across the continents. At a time when most rulers considered themselves to be above the law, Genghis Khan insisted on laws that held rulers as accountable as the lowest herder. He granted religious freedom, refused to hold hostages, and instead instituted a novel practice of granting diplomatic immunity to all ambassadors, including from those nations with whom he was at war. History has condemned most rulers to miserable, untimely deaths. At the age of just 33, Alexander the Great died under mysterious circumstances in Babylon, while his followers carved up his lands and killed off his family. Julius Caesar's fellow aristocrats and former allies stabbed him to death in the chamber of the Roman Senate. However, the nearly 70-year-old Genghis Khan passed away in his camp bed, surrounded by loving family, faithful friends, and loyal soldiers ready to risk their lives at his command. And while opinions on him remain divided, his legacy will forever live on.